Hello, I'm Steph from idriveaclassic, and this is
Kevin Hurst
from idriveaclassic. Now, if you've been watching our MGC restoration series, you'll know that we're full steam ahead. Everything's coming on really well. We did a bit of a shell analysis in the first episode where we looked at everything and we showed you all the nitty gritty. We then bumped into episode 2, and then in the last episode we put the engine into the car. Now, the reason that we did this along with the gearbox is because of the weight of it, so it had to just drop in so that we could check the door gaps are right, etc, etc. Now, if you remember at the end of the last episode, you were running off to your wife's choir
That's right, and she was very good in it. It was really good, and I got some good husband points, so remember that, guys.
Probably you can get marriage advice in these episodes too. But anyway, Kev's done some work this week, and as you can see, the engine bay is really coming together, and you've put the earth strap on, haven't you?
Yeah, earth strap, and what I'm trying to do is get bits and pieces that are hanging around the garage, actually bolt them on the car, because, you know, this when you rebuild a car, one thing you do realise is how many components are in a car, and they're all over the place. So I'm trying to work methodically, and so I don't keep banging my knee into things. That's the idea.
No, and you'll probably notice as well, if you've got a keen eye, that you'll see the car has moved in the garage. So Kev's done a bit of a rejig, and we now have this double garage space, and the car is centred in the middle. The reason we've done this, and we're so lucky to have this space at your house, is so that we can get round the car when we're working on it. Because for anybody who works on their car at home, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. When I at home am working in my grotty single garage, and I'm like, ooh, and there's no space, and I'm having to climb over stuff. Here we've got miles of room, loads of stuff. But if you're wondering what we're doing today we are putting together the bumpers. So everything has been chromed. We've shown you all of that. Powder coated, again, we've shown you that too. So today's assembly of that, and I guess a bit of a talk through what's coming up next. Now, being the apprentice on this job, I get all the good jobs, like building up these chrome-headed bolts ready for the bumpers. Now, here's the thing. When I started on day one, many moons ago, when I was a young person still, I never knew how to do the most basic of bits because I wasn't from a practical family. So I'm going to show you this, which might seem really simple to you at home if you've done this job yourself and that you're an experienced mechanic, but for people like me that are watching on a day one, hopefully this gives you some help. So first of all, you take your chrome-headed bolt. Then you take this fibre washer, and remember, you're putting that on because you don't want contact between the chrome-headed bolt and the actual bumper. Now, the reason for that is, of course, is because what will happen is you get almost those micro fractures in the chrome, water gets in, and then all that money you've spent on the chrome, it's gone prematurely. So what will happen then is that slots into the bumper, but what we'll do is we'll put all the other elements on as well. So first of all, you've got this spacer. We're just putting this on now so it keeps it all together. We have this spring washer. Now look, I'm going to confess something, and people at home are going to be howling about this if they're professionals. I never knew, I just always used to know that you chucked a spring washer on and that was something you did, but I didn't know that it keeps it all tight. And hey, it's these little things that you only learn when you work with someone who's got decades of experience, I think, because it's these little nuances that get missed. So we've put that one in, and if you've ever worked in Kev's workshop with him, you'll know that he is so funny because he's like disastrous in that things go missing and all the rest of it. So hopefully what I get to put in today is a little bit of organisation, and I'm putting all the built up ones back in the bag. I'm on assistance duty once again, and what I'm doing now is I'm inserting these chrome bolts into the bumper. Now, the bumper was up in the rafters, so I did have to send Kev up for that because I wasn't going to be climbing up. But because we are so lucky to have all this space, we've been able to set out 2 tables. So I like to work quite methodically, and so on my right hand side are all the bits and pieces I need, and on this main table here, which is covered with this beautiful 1950s 60s Champion spark plug wing guard, I can build it all up on here. Now, the reason we've put this on is because this chrome needs to be protected. It's very precious. In fact, I'm going to take my rings off because I don't want to ding it. But basically, the aim of the game now is build it all back up and start with the chrome-headed bolts. Now, if you're wondering where we got these from, we went back to the trusty MGOC Spares. And I'm spraying off into the distance, by the way, because Kev went, oh, don't get it on my wing cover. Oh, God. I thought, could I have not just had another discarded curtain? Anyway, we insert it in, and remember, you're keeping that fibre washer to the top. So you pop that in there. And then you essentially just build it all back up. So first of all, you put your spacer on. The next washer. And then the nuts. And then I'm just going to loosely put that on. I'm to be really, really careful here not to get any greasy fingers on this bumper, because apprentice jobs, that would be me cleaning up. We've got those bolts loosely in, but as you can probably see at home, there are still some holes in the bumper, which of course are for the overriders. Now before we fit these on, and you'll be able to see at home loosely, that as you come down, I'm just going to put my finger in for protection here, it sits like that. Well, you don't want it sitting directly onto that chrome. So what you have is your gasket. The name escaped me then, I thought, it's not the rubber, what is it? Anyway, I was watching Kev fiddle about with it, trying to latch it on from here. But let's just use the lazy girl method. So as you can see, it's got an indentation. I'm not going to fiddle about trying to get it on from the top. I'm just going to slide it on from the bottom and slide it round. Now when you do this, you want pressure almost all the way along. There you go, because otherwise it kind of slides off. So can you see at home there how I'm doing this? Kind of sliding that on. But you'll be able to see that it's starting to defy me somewhat and try and push itself off. So what you've got to do is go along and just, see, maybe the lazy girl method doesn't work. Okay, it is going to work. Let's get it back on. It's probably because I've filmed this a few times, so it's just like, no, Steph, honestly. Right, okay. And you want to go, because this doesn't cost the earth, this stuff, just go slightly past it, because you're better off cutting off a few millimetres than trying to cut off a whole new chunk. So just go slightly further beyond where you think you should go, just so you can get it absolutely right. And that, my friends at home, is fully on. So next thing we're going to do is we're just going to snip that off. Am I going to snip it off, or I'm going to snip my fingers off? Who knows? Ow! That'll be nicely bruised tomorrow. But as you can see there, that is one side of the gasket done. So we're going to get the trim on the other side as well. Ta-da! And there we have it. So we'll snip it off again, hopefully not snipping off my finger at the same time. If you ever look at me doing stuff and you think I'm really cack-handed, I think it's because I'm left-handed. I'm just a bit. But Kev's also left-handed, which means when he teaches me stuff, it sometimes sinks in a lot quicker than when people that are right-handed teach me. So anyway, that one's done. Leave that there, and we'll get the other one done as well. I'm in quite a precarious position now because I've built up these overriders and I'm now trying to get everything all assembled. But of course I'm balancing it with my elbow on this side, I've got my hand supporting it on this side, and realistically I need to be an octopus to put this all together. But anyway, come on in, I'll show you what I'm doing. So you'll be able to see that just fits in like that. I take this bracket here and pop it on just like that, and then you take the bumper iron and you slot it in just like that. And that is the basics of your assembly. Right, let's just throw this all together. So I've got a 3/8 set screw, and remember when you're picking one of these, I'm sure this is obvious to many of you, don't pick one that's too long, because what happens is you end up going down into the overrider and damaging it. So what you do is you need to build that up. So you've got your spring washer, got the other washer, chuck that on, and what we're going to do is thread that through. God willing, this will all start holding together. Oh God, you know when everything's greasy, I should probably mention that actually, is that we did grease everything before we started putting it all together. Again, we've come in liberally with the grease all inside this section. But now we're going to build it in because we need to put these brackets in. So we take out that bolt that we put in earlier for safekeeping, and I'm going to be honest with you, I get this wrong every time. I have to go back in and just check what I'm doing. And I'll just check with my off-camera expert. That looks right to you, Kev?
Yep, spot on.
Perfect. Maybe I will pass this apprenticeship, eh?
Yeah, if you want the job, it's yours.
And then that goes on just like that, doesn't it?
Yep.
Perfect.
Bolt through.
I've never done one of these before.
I know,
so
well, you're learning, aren't you?
I am. But I always think if somebody like me, who's a bit daft, can get their head around these
You're
things,
not
I
daft.
think I am.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
I
No,
tell you
you're
what, I cooked something in the microwave the other day and it exploded across the kitchen. So
Oh
I'd
dear.
say that's not the mark of someone who's
No.
particularly with it.
No.
I've rechecked with the car, that's where it needs to be. So I guess now this section here is loosely all put together, which means we just need to mirror it on the other side. So let's speed on through and get that done. Go.
Now then, quite an important thing with this. This really is a bit of a faff because you're working upside down, holding bits and pieces up, and both Steph and myself are left-handed, or cack-handed as I would call it at school. So it's quite difficult to try and get everything in one place. The end brackets here, we leave them loose because there's a rubber washer that goes onto the front valance and that repositions it there. So that's the override, that's the bumper sort of built up. So we just need to give it a bit of a clean up, and I'll put it in the conservatory with all the rest of the other bits and pieces. There's two other little brackets to do, which are these. Now hopefully I'll never need these because they're the towing eyes. So they go on when it goes through the body of the car. So these are the bumper irons where they go through the car. You put those on afterwards and you clamp it there. So hopefully, as I say, I won't be needing those with a bit of luck. And then there's just some brackets underneath here that go on there. That's for the number plate to go on there. But there we are.
Well, Kev couldn't leave anything alone and he said, right, I'm going to see if it fits, because there's no point us putting it away and then getting everything sorted and then 2-3 months down the line coming back and realising that something's not quite right. So as you can see, this is the test fit on it, and my goodness, doesn't it fit well? And it makes it feel less like a shell that sits in the garage that now has an engine and gearbox in, and more like an actual car. Now I know that we're going to have to take this off and put it in storage, but it's these little moments where you get a little hit and you think, oh, actually doesn't feel that far away from being a real car. And you'll be able to see at both ends it fits remarkably well, so you can see that it really hugs that body. And again, it's just another great indicator for us that the body is bang on, because again, it's these little telltale signs when you come to fit stuff like this that you maybe get a bit of an early tell that things aren't quite right. But as we suspected, because it is a great shell, it's all fitted on just right. Now that's it from me today. We've spent most of the day just mocking each other, and I feel like we probably could have got more done, but that's what happens when you're doing a project and you're having a laugh with your mates. In terms of what else we need to do, I think I'm going to come back tomorrow, so you'll see that next week, and I'm going to get the door handles built up. So I've got that done. I need to get the back chrome sorted as well. And yeah, those are my little jobs next, I think. But it feels like it's all progressing really well, which is really nice to see actually, because I think sometimes you get so bogged down in a project, and I know I felt it with the Marina, that you just feel like everything goes off on a tangent, a bit like this video really. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's been good fun. As always, it's so generous of Kev to share his time and expertise with us. But until next week, when we get back on those chrome jobs and we get doing a bit more bumper, door handling, take care and drive safely.